Let's bring in NBC News White House correspondent Vaughn Hilliard. Also with me, NBC's Laura Strickler and former Republican Congressman Carlos Curbelo, who is an MSNBC political analyst. So, Carlos, you can hear the frustration from those crowds at the town halls. Now the polling data gives us a sense of how widespread it is. I should say only 39% have a favorable view of DOJ. The poll also shows 56% think Trump is rushing to make changes. But will this growing frustration have any impact politically on the White House, do you think?
Well, Chris, this is more important to congressional Republicans than it is to Donald Trump because they are up next when it comes to elections. 2026 is right around the corner, and there are a good number of House Republicans who come from swing districts and a few senators who come from swing states. So that's why you're hearing them sound the alarms and quietly push back against the administration, saying you're going too fast on this DOJ effort. Sure, a lot of people are for reforming the government, making it more efficient, but how you do that matters. And these first few weeks have been controversial, chaotic. Elon Musk taking the lead, as you just said. He's not popular. We saw that in that poll. So it's going to be congressional Republicans who are going to be sounding the alarm because they remember what 2018 was, which was the midterm of President Trump's first term. Well, they don't want to have the same fate in 2026 because back in 2018, 40 House seats were lost. Those are the people who are most paying attention to these polls right now.
Vaughn, despite the public frustration, Elon Musk is not backing down. In fact, he's doubling down. What more can you tell us about his new directive to federal workers?
Right, and I think that this new directive, which I'll tell you about in a moment, is, I think, for really the first time, a true test and challenge of whether Elon Musk in the White House, Chris, has direct power or indirect influential power. And that's because an email that was received by government workers over this weekend told them that, yet again, they are required to go and send an email about their list of 5 accomplishments. And they're supposed to do it by the close of business every single week on Mondays. And I even received a text message from one government worker on Saturday night who informed me that she had just received that email. And the amount of confusion, it stems because it was coming from the Office of Personnel Management, which we've already seen from one federal judge stipulate that the Office of Personnel Management, or DOJ, doesn't have the ability to unilaterally tell departments and agency workers what they can do, or whether, in the case of that actual federal judge ruling, whether individuals in these departments and agencies can be terminated. That it is the actual power of the agency heads and department heads to make these sort of requirements of their workers. And yet, what we saw Elon Musk do was go forward and tell these workers yet again, you got to send this email back. And in a social media post on X, Elon Musk, he wrote in part that, quote, the president has made it clear that this is mandatory for the executive branch. Anyone working on classified or other sensitive matters is still required to respond if they receive the email, but can simply reply that their work is sensitive. So you hear and see Elon Musk directly citing the president of the United States saying that it's required. Now it's a matter of who are workers supposed to listen to? The agency heads, the department heads, or Elon Musk? And I think that in a matter of days and weeks, it'll become very clear whether Elon Musk has that indirect influential power over those agency heads or direct powers over the employees that are working within those agencies.
Carlos, if you were a betting man, how do you think this goes?
Look, I think that this is going to be an issue for the coming weeks. And the more, remember, the full cabinet hasn't even been confirmed. All of these agency heads, they are going to want to lead their departments. And as long as Elon Musk is kind of hovering above them, that is going to be very difficult. And it's going to make for very uncomfortable cabinet meetings. And this is very important when it comes to the executive branch, right? The communication among all the different agencies, the autonomy that each of these agencies heads have to carry out their mission, in many cases, the president's own priorities. So this is going to be very unstable here until there's a clear message sent by the White House, by the president, as to who is actually in charge. Is it Elon Musk or is it the cabinet secretaries?
Meantime, Laura, you've been doing some reporting about some unusually long lines outside of HUD today. What's going on there?
Yeah, Chris, so it started early this morning around 6 a.m. when workers showed up and they were told to go through security that was more like TSA in the airport. They had to remove coats and sometimes shoes. They also had to put their bags through metal detectors. And sources told us this is a new practice and something that federal workers at HUD have never had to do before. This caused some significant delays with lines stretching around the building. We asked HUD about it, and they told us that they could not comment on what had happened in the past. But they said while these long lines weren't ideal, the department is pleased to see so many employees returning to work. And they say they'll continue to make adjustments for a safe and secure workplace. One HUD worker told me employees are just trying to work. Chris.
But no indication that they're doing this because, I don't know, there were threats or they're concerned about any kind of security problems. And is this going to be the way it is going forward?
Yeah, it's unclear, but they did not say that they had received any threats so far.
Okay, Carlos, NBC spoke to a group of fired federal workers who say, look, they understand the goal of shrinking the size of government, but they worry about the effects it will have. Let me play that for you.
To just kind of eliminate programs at random and eliminate employees at random does not achieve that goal.
These are nurses, these are park rangers. These aren't just people in DC buildings doing miscellaneous tasks.
I really worry about a future in which the federal civil service has been demonized and we don't have skilled workers in the federal civil service. And things start to happen like our parents and grandparents stop getting their Social Security checks.
Well, you got to wonder, Carlos, would it take something as drastic as Social Security checks not arriving to give President Trump and Elon Musk a chance to rethink this approach to a complex issue? I think what you heard from that one employee, sort of speaks to that poll that says Americans think this is all just moving too fast.
That's right, Chris. When you hear those employees speaking, you really can understand why independent voters in particular are uncomfortable with the way in which this is being done. Again, I think you can find a lot of support in the country across the board for making government more efficient, for getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. But when it appears that federal employees are being bullied, that they're being badgered, that they're being mistreated, that there isn't really a method here to this reorganization of the government, that people are being indiscriminately let go. And then if there are actual consequences as a result of that, where the government isn't meeting its mission to the public, that's when you can really start seeing these poll numbers collapse. And again, it's going to be congressional Republicans who first say, no more of this. We need to take control of this whole of everything that's going on through the appropriations process and through Congress's other tools, because they do not want to face a tough fight in November, which they likely will, right, given what we know about midterm elections for the party that controls the White House.